Kevin's not going to be here today because he's at FEMA meeting that he has to go to once a month to keep this thing rolling, but
Once a quarter.
once a quarter. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, that's today. Anyway, do you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we need to make a motion to get Annalise and Dan Truckee to participate via Zoom?
And finding exceptional circumstances with the motion.
Yes, and they both have exceptional circumstances.
Yes, we
Determined
do.
by the board. Determined by the board in its discretion.
Can I get a motion for that?
Make the motion that we accept Annalise and Dan Truckee via Zoom.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Morning, Lindsay. So do we want to go to public comments right away? Neil?
Let's approve the agenda
Okay.
as submitted first, and then, yes, we can go to public comments.
Do we need to make any changes to today's agenda?
I have none.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the agenda as produced to us. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now public comments.
All right. We're open for public comments. Whoa, never mind. John. I'm not sure what the last name is. Kellemeyer? John? Could you go?
We'll wait for the public hearing, please.
Hearing.
What public hearing?
On the budget,
Oh,
it's technically a public hearing
Okay.
to provide an opportunity for
okay.
affected members to ask questions or express concerns as part of the adoption process.
Joyce, did you want to talk now?
Yeah, I just want to mention something to you.
Sure.
Joyce Carlina, Rain. There's a sign on 41 that says new.
Oh, the
and
stop
it's
sign?
going down, and it's going this way and that way. When it was determined by the engineer, when they put the signs up, that you needed to leave that up for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's now been several years, and it probably should come out because it's like pointing that way. I don't want somebody to go that way, come home in the dark and think, oh, I gotta go that way.
We can take that out.
It just needs to be coming.
Okay, we'll do it. Thank you. Susan Wright, do you want to speak now?
No, I just, he said you had to put your name down if you wanted to speak. I didn't know if I'd want to speak. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyone else during this? Lindsay,
I just didn't
please
know.
come up.
I'm Lindsay Cates, and I just thought I would give you a quick briefing on parcel 13.
Thank you.
So since about February, we introduced the property into the county for a final plat and to the state of Florida so that the engineering all meets the standards of the new FEMA after Irma. So that's where we're at. We've gotten comments back from the state of Florida, so we're kind of through that hurdle. The next hurdle now is the final plat. So we're submitted. We've gotten our first, we're getting our first round of comments back from Collier County. And I have a builder that's very interested in the community, and the same things that this board, not this board, but any board would need out of a buyer, they want out of the seller from me, right? So all the things that this wonderful builder that would be coming to this community and this community needed to have interface, what I had to do with you to buy it is now what I'm having to do with them to sell it, so they're perfectly aligned. And that's all I had to say.
If
I didn't have anything else.
if that potential buyer wants to meet with myself or the whole board, we're more than happy to do it to help facilitate this for you.
Thank you. Yes, and they don't want to have any knowledge released about our agreement until it's signed, and
Okay.
it's not signed
Very good.
because of what I'm doing with Collier County officially and what they want as an outcome are slightly different, so I need to make sure they come to the same table, and that takes another 30 days. And yes, Mr. Tony will be our first phone call.
Thank you for coming all the way from Colorado to update us.
Well, I like to be here every board meeting, so.
All right. Phil?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, on that point, on June 18th, Francesca Pasadomo submitted the formal submittal. Forwarded it to you and to the manager and to the engineer of proposed plat, covenants, et cetera. And I began my review. I have an initial review, and the board has a 60-day time frame in which to approve it or provide comments to, as far as any objections or concerns. So that, the 60 days from the June 18th date would be August 17th, which is right after the next board meeting. I have my initial comments today, and so when I get to my report, I may ask the board to have a meeting between now and the 16th so we don't hold up this process, and have the engineers provide their review. And if Mr. Case can get Francesca and the attorneys to send the comments from the county to myself, Mr. Goral, and Mr. Brown.
Everything, as soon as we get it, we'll pass it straight.
Right, because part of the concern is right now, the plat dedicates the utilities to Cuyahoga County.
Right.
It says Cuyahoga County is going to do the water sewer. It does, which is not the case.
We spoke this morning, and I told him, if we have to have an extra meeting or anything to expedite this for you, we will do it. It's to the,
Well,
the
and
communities.
I'll be in town as necessary for board meetings, and the Zooming is
Yep.
fabulous.
But we'll do whatever we can to expedite this for you.
Yeah, and I have comments for the board, I have the copies for the board members. And it's public records, I gave it to Neil yesterday, so if Mr. Case wants a copy, give it to Francesca, or I can deliver it to her directly.
That'd be fine.
Okay, whatever works for you.
And then, that's all I had.
All right.
And I look forward to working, nothing but good things coming to the community, so all
Great.
the best.
Anyone else at this time would like to make a quick comment? No? Anyone online want to make a comment? No? All right. Approval of minutes.
We have two sets today, Mr. Chairman. Both the utility rate workshop as well as the separate set, which is the regular meeting of the board.
Has anybody even had a chance to look at this stuff? Annalise, have you got anything, any changes that you'd like to make?
I had sent them to, are you talking about the minutes?
Correct.
Yeah, I had sent them to, the office. I believe she changed them. So, yeah, it was just a correction. So I'm good.
All right, if no one else has anything that they want, Tony, nothing?
Yep.
Okay, let's make a motion to approve the minutes as provided. Boys,
Make a motion, we approve.
second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Just for purposes of subsequent minutes, those were the workshop minutes of June the 14th, and then the regular meeting of the board that occurred a week later on June the 21st.
Yes. Very good.
Mr. Chairman, it has been your practice recently to get our utility operations report up early, just so these guys can get on with the balance of their day. Matt is here. Matt, you want to come forward? And this is item 7 today on the agenda, which will be the utility operational report for the month of June.
In the future, why don't we just move that up?
That's fine.
Okay.
Greatly appreciate it. Good morning. Morning. All right. Our operations.
Are you saying you don't like budget adoption?
You know, I really love it.
You said something earlier about you'd rather get a root canal than sit through our budget adoption.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
All right.
Operations of facilities throughout the month were in accordance with contract and regulatory requirements. All wastewater plant requirements were met. All water distribution requirements were met. Reuse system is functioning properly at the plant. The station on the canal is operating on 2 pumps. The wastewater plant last month received 1.81 million gallons of wastewater. We reduced 2.78 million gallons in June and distributed 8.6 million gallons of reused water. We read 857 meters. We did 9 rereads. We used 220 gallons of chlorine. We inspected all pump stations weekly. We did odor control checks. Work is continuing on the plant that was approved. Lift stations, all the lift stations of the community were pumped down and cleaned out with our pump truck. We sucked them all out just to give them a good cleaning. The other pump in the master lift station plant died and was replaced. We pumped down the surge tank as part of the plant project and cleaned it out. We replaced the recycle system PVC with HDPE. That was part of the approved project. The force main that carries all of the sewage from the community to the plant actually got plugged right at the plant like 3 weeks ago and ended up being just large wad of debris that somehow worked its way over there. That's why we cleaned out all the lift stations. We had 0 accidents or OSHA-related events, and all of our safety training was conducted.
That roof that we've got on our holding tank out there, that needs to have maintenance on it.
Yep.
But we've been putting that off until we can find out whether or not FEMA's gonna give us, is gonna reimburse us for that, and it looks like we have a very good chance at that.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we don't dare do it until they give us an affirmative or not, because if we go ahead and do it in advance, they'll never pay for it.
Sure.
So is there any reason that we cannot continue this delay on that?
No.
Okay, good. How about the roll-it? Was that cleared yet by Soto? The bushes?
I haven't been back and checked. They mowed it, and then I called Soto and said, hey, it's not really the grass on the sides, it's the limbs thing.
Yeah.
He told me that he was going to do it a week ago, but I haven't been out there.
Okay.
I'll double check it later.
Your meters, you had some rereads. Was there any problem?
No, it's just, occasionally we'll get either high or low reads that media billing thinks is potentially not correct. So they'll just have us go out and double check to make sure it's correct.
Very good.
Maybe if there's an excessive usage or something like that.
If I may,
No,
Steve.
Go.
Matt, did you get a chance? Did the Soto mow that reserve pond there?
Is not. I think they mowed one area, but not the retention area between the plant and the road. But it's pretty wet right now.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
All the upgrades are going as planned?
Yep.
All good. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too.
Take a cookie for your friends.
Thank you.
All right, manager's report.
Morning, everyone. This is the second part of the budget adoption process that is done in accordance with Florida law. Part 1 occurred at an extensive budget workshop that was held as part of the meeting in May. And at that time, we were required to approve the tentative budget for purposes of sending it to the county. All special districts like ours have to file our budget for the coming year in advance, no later than June the 15th with the county. That all occurred and the board set the tentative rates for the budget and the non-ad valorem assessments that appear on your tax bill at that time, subject to part 2, which is today, which is a public hearing to receive comments, concerns, or recommendations from the affected property owners in order to adopt the final budget that again gets electronically transmitted to the property appraiser and then merged onto the tax bill that you will receive sometime in early November. In advance of that, and because there is a proposed increase On the general fund side, your budget has two funds. You have a proprietary fund, which is your utility system, and then you have a general fund for all the other maintenance operations. We had to run a series of public notices in the newspaper and send to every owner of record a first-class mail copy of that same notice. At the budget workshop earlier in May, after quite a bit of discussion, the board had settled on an increase that the combined assessment for the coming year not exceed $1,700, and that is what staff did. That does represent an increase over the current year of about $374, about $31 per month. On the general fund side, in order to increase a capital reserve for future improvements, and the one in particular that seems to be the focus here is the milling and resurfacing of your major boulevards and residential streets at some point in the future, given their current condition. We had a number of discussions about that and also drainage related aspects. So here's the process for today. There will be following the public hearing, there will be two resolutions presented to the board. The first one is a resolution authorizing the chairman to execute the resolution that adopts the final budget for fiscal year 25. Our fiscal year begins on October the 1st, and we need to have this done and submitted on September the 1st to satisfy the property appraiser, and then to have it, as I said, merged onto your property tax bill along with the various other districts that levy millages. Resolution 24-3 of the subsequent resolution is to apply and levy a maintenance and operating assessment on those benefiting properties within the community or the district's legal description, and to adopt the property roll folio numbers. That is the way that we apply the individual uniform assessments to all benefiting properties here. Having said that, the maintenance assessment for the coming year is $878,355, and the water and sewer assessment in total is $1,042,738. The budget, again, is in two funds, and the combined assessment for next year would be $1,699.92, slightly below the $1,700 that the board had talked about, just as a kind of a rounding error, so it's not exactly $1,700. And again, that represents an increase over the current year's budget of $374, or about $31 per month is the recommended amount to be adopted. Be happy to answer any questions that the board might have, and then we can open the public hearing and see if there are members of the public here who'd like to participate in that process.
A lot of what we just did here was based on this consultant's report that we paid to have done. Could I see a show of hands in here? Anybody in here read this consultant report that's on our website? Good for you. Anyone? You what?
I read it.
Didn't we just put it up?
We have two. One of them is the Capital Improvement Fund, and then we have also just uploaded the recent utility rate analysis.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
They're both there.
Yeah. How about the CIP report? Has any of you read that? What?
I'm that. One you just recently uploaded.
It's on the front page of our website.
We're not going to record these conversations with people.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people are making assumptions on how much extra money that the board, or not the board, the CID has in its coffers. And they're saying, well, we have all this money, so why are we assessing the way that we're assessing? You have to go back and read this consultant report that we just had done to fully understand that. Otherwise, you're just guessing at what you're saying. Because what this is telling us is, in the past, we have not been collecting as much revenue as we should have been. And this is why we haven't got a lot of the things done. If you look at the CIP report and it says that we need $9 million in repairs, and we have $4.5 million in reserves, hopefully some more coming from FEMA, but we're not flush with money. If you look at those two reports, we're not flush with money, no matter how bad people want to say that. Please come up front. Please come up front.
Is it the utility rate?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, she's just asking us
Okay.
to affirm.
So with that being said, any questions?
And if not, let's turn to the public. If you have questions or again concerns, this is the public hearing portion of the budget. Happy to answer your questions or receive, and just ask that you be recognized by the chairman. All of our minutes are transcribed, so if you don't mind coming to the front here and identify yourself and your neighborhood, we need and like to have that as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
Joyce Gravino, Orchid Cove. You're going to raise it around $300, correct? Are you also going to raise the water rates so that we're paying more?
No.
What is the 123 that I read? Is that a flat fee for the year, or is that monthly you're going to have a flat fee of $123?
No, the board, it's a great question, not part of the discussion of today's meeting. The board has talked about a year from now, changing the utility rate structure so that you not continue to subsidize your utility operation with revenues from that tax bill. Right now, everybody here is paying like $922 a year through your tax bill as a non-ad valorem assessment to help subsidize the utility operation. Utilities, by and large, charge base fees and then metered consumption fees. And so if you look at that utility rate study that is now on the website, throughout the course of the coming year, especially the winter tourist season, we're going to be having more workshops to discuss the possibility of changing the utility rate basis in the future. There's no increase at all proposed this year on the utility side. The current rates and the subsidy will remain unchanged.
And my second question is, does this include the fishing boats at the marina to be paying as much as a condo? Like I have a fishing boat. The information that went out, I'm going to be paying the same thing for my condo as I am for
Both
my boat. It is, I'm going to pay that.
Well,
Are the people
that's
with
yet to
boats
be
on-
determined.
We haven't
done that.
We haven't even gotten to that yet.
Okay,
But you know what? That was a very good point here, because I think a lot of people have the same questions.
right.
You know, because what we're doing is we're putting stuff out there as to what we're thinking about. It's not been voted on, it's nothing else. It's just to start the discussion so that the people will understand that this is how we're looking at doing things in the future, but we haven't decided on any of it, because we haven't had the meetings yet to do that.
Okay,
But thank you.
thanks for your answers.
Anyone else?
Again, if
Since
you
I can't drink, I'll have to put it in.
wait to be recognized and
Yeah, I agree. Let's
share with us your name.
Yeah.
Catherine Hellmeyer, Sunset K Lake, 1600. I have a couple things. At last meeting, I asked for a breakdown of what the assessments are specifically, being nobody knows what the base rate is for a single-family home on the water sewer side. And then we throw in the changes to the O&M side, and according to what I received in the paper, mailed, the assessment per unit, and I'm speaking boat slip because unlike Joyce, is the same as my condo, for one. For two, on boat slips, last year assessment was 403, according to the paper I received. According to the tax bill at Collier County, my B2 in 2023 was $213.04. Am I off on that? I'm not sure. Did I miss a year as far as Collier County goes? But then it goes back to not having enough money and comparing the taxes, non-ad valorem taxes I pay. Slip A1, which is a liveaboard slip, which handles a 40-foot boat. In 2020, we both paid $294 and change. In 21, we both paid $270. And in 2022, we both paid $213. Now, the information I have at 2023, A1 paid $100 more, and that was because at one time, I believe you were considering charging a boat slip 1.0 on the O&M side, and you, after a lot of back and forth and talk with the marina people that were here in force, you reduced it from 1.0 down to 5.5, and then B and D dock, which are non-liveaboards, went down to 0.25. So I don't understand why the paper I received is different from the taxes I pulled off Collier County for 2023. I could be a year off with the tax year being 2024, but that's what I paid in 2023. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, again, I'm asking, and previously the old, I say this with tongue in cheek, the bad boards that have taken flack for not knowing what they're doing and all that other kind of negative stuff along with the previous management company, it was always supplied with a breakdown of what the base rate was for single-family homes, from that rate, how much they pay, condos, hotels, on down the list. That was always supplied. I have asked for that numerous times. I cannot in any way, shape, or form come to any kind of conclusion what the breakdown of my taxes, both for my condo and for my boat dock, is either on the O&M side or on the water sewer side. So that takes care of that. There's no way, you talk about not enough money. I supplied to people at the time the breakout of the recorded documents on the boat slips and what slips were able to carry 40-foot boats, and they are not being billed according to what's the rules and the procedures right now. So by not doing that with the marina slips, the liveaboards, you are missing money that way. Now, it may have something to do with the lawsuit. I do not know, but I'm sure there's money to be found in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you address some of those things?
Yeah, there's no changes this year to the methodology. Those changes that were made last year remain in effect for both boat slips and the condominium units. And so, for what it's worth, the individual equivalent residential unit charges for this year, as I mentioned earlier, are $777.23 on the operating and maintenance side, and $922.69 on the utility side. So that's for an equivalent residential unit. Multifamily units and boat slips are pay a fraction of that based off of their benefits that they receive. Commercial properties are also paying in support of that based off of the intensity of their use on an acreage basis. So everybody here, regardless of what you own, are paying the same flat rate or a percentage as determined by the board in the changes that were made a year ago. No changes are contemplated for this year. If you have individual questions about your actual tax bill, If you'll see me at the end of the meeting, I'll be happy to give you the email and phone number for the individual who actually administers the roll to make sure that the roll as approved is accurate with respect to whatever it is that you own.
After today, would we be able to post the current one on the website? What she's asking for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, also, it was mentioned that, and I looked this morning too, last year's audit wasn't put on our website. There's a few things on our website that need to be brought up to current that haven't been done since
Yeah,
22.
we're actually going to talk about this year's audit today.
Yep.
And there are record copies, and at the time that we upload this, we'll upload the one for the prior year too, if it's not there.
But also, if someone wants an audit and they can't find it, they just call your office and you
Yeah.
send it to them.
It's a public record, and they're really, the audit is only about 30, 40 pages, and we typically do not charge for anything that we can scan and send to you through email. You don't have to come to our office, but if you want to see copies of last year's audit or this year's audit, they are available, and you're entitled to them as a public record.
Now, do you want to talk about the,
No, I just want, I think what she's asking for is a breakdown of every single slip to see that they're charged correctly.
Our individual who administers the roll has the ability to segregate all of those boat slips and provide a schedule of those, and they're tied to the folio numbers that are part of that condominium.
and we have talked recently and quite a bit about the marina boat slips and how they're being assessed. And I agree with Catherine 100%. I think the rest of the board probably does too, that the liveaboards are not being treated the same as the just plain slips, let's just call it that. And that's what we're going to address through this whole process of redoing our finances in the next few months, right? Yeah. But we totally understand what you're saying.
Any other public comments? And again, if you just don't mind coming to the front.
I have a quick question. Does the company that's
Our
done,
individual who's listening to you, if she doesn't know
my
your name
name's
unless you
Jay.
tell her.
How are you? I had a question about the group doing the finance, because when I came to the community, I didn't really think about the 20-year architecture of the finance of the district, but I've been looking for someone to draft that. So my question is, has the board secured like an underwriting firm like D.A. Davidson or one of them to do a 20-year finance model for the district? Because some of the questions that people have about, to me, $1,000 a year for that house is way under what I would pay in Colorado for a similar product. So the fees seem rational, and it sounds like we've got, but it would be nice to have that $9 million that you have aligned put into a 20-year life cycle and a model of maintenance, O&Ming kind of. And if that exists, it would be nice to
That exists, and the ability to manipulate that model through this utility rate work that we have been doing with a very sophisticated company can change assumptions. We did talk a little bit about that last month as to whether or not, or if the board was willing to incur some bonded indebtedness or financing associated with some of those assumptions. And so, but to answer your question, it is tied to a fairly sophisticated modeling process, and the consultant that we have in that regard is probably Florida's leading utility rate analysis company. That's all that they do.
And that's the firm that's done all the things on this conversation right now.
And their initial presentation has already been uploaded on the website.
I'll send an email questions, so thank you.
And that's the thing, if you go onto the website and find that consultant's report and just go to the summary on it, and it'll quickly tell you why we're doing what we're doing and what we should be doing. We all realize nobody wants to pay more money. We all understand that. But in the real world, the way things are going, we've got to we've got to pull the Band-Aid off some of this stuff, and we're trying our best. But here again, when we have these meetings, please come to us and help us out with this. Let us know what you want.
Yes, sir.
My name's John Kellmeyer. I live at 314 Newport Drive. And when we bought there, those three, I never heard of the CID. Well, I found out after a while that the sole purpose of the CID was to manage an water plant. Have you read the bylaws?
Yes, I actually have. Every one of them.
You better take a long look at them. If you spend any money that takes money away from the water plant, you're in liable. You got a problem. And things like a dog park for 30 dogs and have 90 people pay for it isn't acceptable. And just like what was the other one we had? Oh, clubhouse. There's 900 units here, and I'll bet you don't, not you in favor of a clubhouse.
Yeah.
Just think, take a look at what your duties are and live up to them. Like to raise taxes, to do something like that, this is foolish. Thank you.
Thank you. Others?
If I could, I would just like to give Neil a copy of what has previously been done that shows the breakout of how the taxes, non-ad valorem taxes are figured out. This is what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Just to make one clear comment, the CID is responsible for more than just a water treatment plant.
And we don't commingle those funds.
That's what
I said at the beginning, it's a total separate proprietary fund in that regard.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions from the public or no from the board, then again, this is a two-part process, and the appropriate first motion would be a motion, second, and vote to adopt Resolution 2024-2. This is a resolution adopting the final general budget of the Port of the Islands Community Improvement District for fiscal year 2025.
Does the board have any more discussion upon this before we take this vote?
No.
We'll need a motion second to adopt the resolution to authorize the chairman to sign it.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the budget, whatever number you said it was, for the general fund.
I'm going to get those in just a minute, yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone? Okay.
And then again, the next resolution is Resolution 2024-3. This is a resolution levying a maintenance assessment within the Port of the Islands Community Improvement District and a separate water and sewer assessment for fiscal year 2025. And for purposes of the record, the general fund assessment, again, $878,355. The utility fund combined assessment in aggregate, $1,042,738. And again, that would result in a equivalent residential unit combined assessment of $1,699.92. And I'll need a motion and a second and a vote.
And my only suggestion would be, Neil, would just add and water and sewer at the top.
Yeah, we have.
For the caption.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you're saying that we're just under 1,700?
Yes, sir.
Was that just by coincidence, or how did we get to that number?
At the end of the budget workshop, the motion and the consensus of the board was that you did not want to exceed 1,700. And in terms of that, I actually did some math because that was an increase over the current years. And with the rounding factor that I mentioned, that's why it resulted in that 1699 and 92 and not 8 cents more, 1,700.
Now, going according to our consultants' suggestions, do you feel that that is what we should be doing?
I do, because of the way that it will benefit your capital reserve ability going forward. And then the separate discussion that we're going to have over the course of the next 12 months and throughout the winter season will be to evaluate eliminating that utility assessment and replacing it with a new utility rate structure that will have a base charge, regardless of whether you use 1 drop of water or not, and then a fully metered rate component after that. That's not being discussed or debated or considered today. The earliest that would happen based off of your most recent direction to staff would be a year from now.
And that's how Collier County does it, right?
That's how all utilities in Southwest Florida are presently. Nobody is subsidizing their utility system off the property tax bill.
Right. Good. Can we get a motion to accept 24.3?
2024-3, and I'll need a motion and second and vote to authorize the chairman to sign.
Dan?
Make a motion that we accept it.
Lisa?
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
Thank you for that, and especially the work that you undertook in May and June at meetings like this to try and help set the future for the community. Item B today is the 2023 fiscal year audit. Again, copies are available, and if you want to see me, it will be uploaded to the website when we return to the office on Monday. The auditor is Grau and Associates from Boca Raton. They specialize in district audits and do hundreds of them throughout the state. I will tell you that the independent report that begins as the executive summary here says that this is a clean audit. There are no exceptions, and there's a whole separate section here that has to be reported to the Auditor General of the state of Florida. And there are no material adjusting entries. The books at the end of the fiscal year on September 31st were properly stated. There are no qualifications to the audit process. There is one business qualified opinion that I want the board to be aware of that occurs on their transmission. Prior to our arriving here, there was a period of time from October of 2022 to February of 2023 where there was not supporting information that they requested based off of utility usage reports. They do a variety of tests to determine the accuracy and the validity of the journal entries within the ledger. And in some cases, for that period of time, there was not sufficient supporting information that was available even upon subsequent requests from your former management company.
So they just basically quit doing their job before they were done.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Those types of work, when we arrived and began for the second half of the year, we satisfied all of their concerns, but there is one sentence within this particular report that I think needs to be at least part of the record. I do want to tell you that within the management and discussion and analysis that we performed, just something that I think that is important. At year end, the district had $12,509,102 in a fiscal year net position and fund balance in terms of the assets that were there. For those governmental funds, the combined ending fund balance of $3 $1,440,034 was a decrease from the prior year. But the reason for that was you had $1 million loan on the books in the prior year. And just prior to our arrival, the board took cash and paid off the loan. So while there is an $849,000 decrease in the fund position from the prior year in terms of cash, that liability of $1 million was defeased fully during the first quarter of the year in question.
It was basically entered as an asset.
Yes. And so there's no specific action required of the board, but as I indicated, when we were open for business, a full copy of the audit, which to me looks to be about 30 pages, will be available on the website, really probably by the close of business Monday afternoon. And I'll double check that if the prior year's audit is not also on the website, it will be at the same time.
Thank you. And anyone in here who understands audits and wants to spend the time, please go through that audit word by word. If you can find something that's wrong in there, bring it to us, because we want to know about it as badly as you do if there's a mistake being made.
And again, just for purposes, I think you should focus both on the initial cover, executive summary, if you will, the management discussion and analysis, and then there on page 29 is a separate independent report that is required by law to be sent to the Auditor General of the state of Florida. And again, their findings was that the district complied in all material respects, and the accounting was properly stated at the close of business on September 31st.
Yes.
Item C today is just a verification of what I had reported to the board previously, but many members of the community. Effective in June, our utility billing system was complete in all respects. Initially, they had problems with their ACH vendor in order to take credit or debit card payments or e-checks as part of your paying your utility bill. All of those features are now up and running to include your ability to access your own bill or to receive a bill by email and pay that electronically at any point in the last 2 months.
Could we post a little something on, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
May I? Catherine Kellmeyer. We had an issue with our master association getting the bills. We changed to the receiving it by email, which came through. However, it's not an actual copy of the bill. John and I also get ours that way, and it's a printout of everything, but it's not a bill. So we paid it from that, and then somewhere along the line we get a bill. Well, this is throwing our bookkeeping system all off. I asked about paying our management company about paying e-bills or e-checks, and they called apparently Muni, and Muni told them to pay by check. I've also talked, and this is probably more than my problem, but the time frame it takes for people to get their bills through the mail is long. People are getting charged, of course, the $25. I just want to let you know it's kind of becoming an issue, time issue. I think penalizing people because they can't get the bill with 2 weeks and then another week to get it is a little outrageous. I would appreciate it if you would consider allowing a little more time before the $25 late charges.
Yeah, that's actually the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
And I will tell you, as a rule,
Thank you.
There are about 1,000 customers to the utility system here, and the accounts receivable report that got shut off notices was only 30. And in some cases, I have the ability to adjust the $25 late fee upon a specific request that has some factual basis to it. But out of 1,000 customers, I'm only aware of maybe 18 individuals in this community who actually had the $25 late fee applied. So it's not a problem. Prior to that, the board had extended what I consider to be like a 6-month grace period to have everybody be, in sync with the fact that we had a new billing company. But you can in fact do e-checks. You can in fact pay with a credit card, but you're going to have to pay the convenience fee associated with that. And you are able to get a electronic copy of the bill. If there's something about the fact that it looks different or the header's different, I'm not aware of that. I hadn't heard that before. If your management company is the one that received one of the shut-off notices because we hadn't been paid in some period of time, okay, there was one management company in Naples that had not paid any of their bills for almost 3 months. And we even called them in advance, and we called the hotel in advance as a professional courtesy to tell them that we were prepared to shut the water off to those two particular projects. I've got a direct dial number if you want to write this down. 888-329-3171. And if you have separate questions or you want to email those questions directly to Muni Billing and copy me, you can do that as well.
Thank
Who's your management company, just so I'll be on the lookout?
Sandcastle.
Okay.
I know a lot of people probably don't look at our website, but there is a lot of information on there. And I was wondering, Neil, could we put a little something on there telling people, announcing that now you can do this stuff?
Yeah.
Could you do that?
I've had more success when I put things on the homepage, like, maybe like right under, there's a banner there that says the next meeting is,
Yep.
and that sort of thing. We'll add that on there.
Okay, very good.
The final thing was just to say publicly that the board has expressed that a $25 late fee, and the current policies state that I cannot turn your water off if your delinquent account is less than an average 1-month bill. So in theory, people could refuse to pay late fees, and at some point, just kind of push that off or on until it reaches the point to where it's more than what an average monthly bill would be here. The board has just indicated that at some point in the near future, they may update their utility billing policy to include the late fee structure that is presently there. And at the same time, because I had a guy call me from Miami, he owns a unit here, he lives in Miami, and he swears that when he sends us a check that it can take up to 12 days for that check to actually leave Miami and get to the lockbox at the bank in North Carolina. And so I'm hearing some of that, and if we need to make the due date, 25 days after the date that the bill is, the board will have the opportunity to do that, and we're intending to do that in the first quarter of the new year and have the board. There's a little bit of a complicated process. Your policies and procedures include the current utility policies and procedures, and I have to go through a
Rule amendment.
A rule amendment and an advance notice and run things in the newspaper. Can you elaborate on that? I've never done that with administrative rules.
Yeah, the rules were adopted pursuant to, it's called Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes, and it requires that there be in this case, we're going to amend the rule, a notice of rule amendment in rule development. And the rule development will be to amend the rules to do a certain number of items. So at the next board meeting, if we could have the board detail what those would be, and have Neil make some suggestions, and put that first notice in the newspaper, and then send a separate notice about the proposed rule itself. Excuse me. Set up a public hearing and give individuals an opportunity to file their objections or comments and their estimated regulatory costs, and then have that implemented by the new fiscal year. We can get that done by October. easily by the fiscal year. To start.
October is the end of our year, right?
Begin October 1.
Oh, okay.
September 31 is the end of this.
The 30th. Unless we have 31 days this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one way to do it. Could even have it in place arguably by the end of September, might be, but October is probably the best.
Yeah, I think we should go through those rules and procedures. There's some stuff in it that's quite dated, so we should probably just upgrade that.
Yeah, and that could be a good discussion item, if the board wants to add some more items also. Have it either at the next board meeting or have a workshop in between to discuss some other additional comments.
Some of it. The final thing that I have today, and thank you for the time, took a little longer today, is the current financial statements. These are behind the next tab in your agenda materials, where as of 7 months or through the end of May the 31st. And a couple of highlights here. The cash position of the district at the end of May was $4,707,995. I should have said less $10,000 that are shown as current assets that are for items that are prepaid. Our insurance premiums are prepaid at the beginning of the year, but our cash position remains really good. Net of the purchase of the commercial parcel across the highway here that closed during that same month. Additionally, fixed property and equipment at another $8,556,000 net of depreciation. That represents the value of your utility plant and the other associated infrastructure in this community that include roads and drainage facilities and streetlights for a combined or total assets of $13,264,000. There were $90,000 in payables that were outstanding at the end of the month that are shown on the liability portion of the balance sheet. On the next page, the income statement, you will see that a couple of things. Your interest earnings based off of the change in your banking arrangement are setting some records. We earned $15,200 during the month of May on interest on investments on your accounts. Additionally, there was $18,000 in non-ad valorem assessments that were received from the tax collector that would have been delinquent at that point. For a year-to-date total in the general fund of $384,000 against a budget of $455,000, which I was initially concerned about. I thought, boy, it really ought to be higher than that. So I did a little look forward, and we actually received during the month of June another $167,000 in assessments combined. So you're right at about 95–96% of what you would want to be. But again, what that tells me is the money that came in June are probably taxes that went unpaid and were sold at the auction by the tax collector, and an investor bought those taxes for a rate of interest so that we get our money. And so we're essentially have received all of the money through 7 months that we're going to anticipate for the course of the year. Made me a lot happier because $167,000 that came in June, all again that would have been delinquent and had fees associated with it. The balance sheet and the income statement are where I would want them to be at this time of the year. Total year-to-date expenses are about $127,000 under budget for all of the cost centers that we have. So revenues are within the forecast, expenses are below budget, essentially just because some of the projects at the utility plant have lagged a little bit with respect to some of the filters and other things that are anticipated. That as we approach the final quarter of the year, I'm pretty satisfied with your overall financial position. And that concludes my reports for today.
Just to reiterate, some people think that we haven't done enough infrastructure changes. part of the reason that we're holding off on this is to get this FEMA and these grant programs taken care of. I know I explained it, but I wanted to say it again. We're not putting it off because we want to save all this money. We're putting it off because we may be able to use the government's money rather than our own reserves money. So, anyone
Steve,
online?
Steve, would you like to go through any of the things that we have accomplished at the water plant? Is that something you might want to talk about?
Can you do that?
I did not make a list, but I can tell you some things that come to mind. With our new permit process, we had to bring up there was a redundancy in our sewer plant, and we had to bring up the second side of our sewer plant. Over the years, we had let that go, and now with our new permit that we had to put in place, required to do, we are bringing that up at this time right now up to operational status. So the plant will be fully operational on the sewer side, which is a nice accomplishment. We put in a new SCADA system. We put in a brand new computer system that operates that for our utility operators. It does a lot of different things. It notifies them even if they're at home at night. It will notify them on their phone when the pump stations have an issue. It does a lot of different things, but it is a new computer system that drives the operation of our plant. We have new filters ordered. We have some disc filters ordered that will replace or run in redundancy, I guess you would say, to the sand filters. The issue with the sand filters is when they get plugged up, our plant is down for 3 to 4 days while they get a vac truck in and clean that out and make that operational again. Whereas the disc filters will be our first filter in line. The sand filter will become the backup, but the disc filters can be cleaned in a very short period of time, in hours. They can clean those and have them right back online. So it saves us some issues there with our plant. The water lines and things are all in the process. We were in meetings several times this week with FEMA and the new water line that's going to go in from the well field to the plant. There's a lot of different things in motion. We have the grant that's pending right now on the new water storage tank, a 240 or 50,000 gallon water tank, storage tank that we'll be putting in. There's just a lot of things going on that you don't see from the surface, but we are accomplishing a lot of different things to the infrastructure. Like Steve mentioned earlier, the roads are in there. The roads, there are grants that went out to several neighboring communities, Everglades City, Immokalee, different ones where they picked up $1 million for sidewalks and a couple $1 million for roads and streets, things like that. And we are jumping into that grant process to see if some of our streets can't be repaired in the same way. So we do, as a community, we are a government, part of the government, part of the county community. And with that comes these options to get these different government monies that are out there for things like that to help the community. So that's what we're working on. There's a lot going on. To say that we've let things go and not done that is certainly not correct.
That's another reason that CIDs are formed. So it gives you access to these government money sources at the lower interest rates. That's probably the most advantageous reason for having a CID. That is so that we can get at those kinds of funds. And unfortunately, our past management company didn't really focus on that a lot. You know, everybody has their own abilities, but I think our management company that we have now is doing an exceptional job in helping us through this process. They've worked very hard on it. Kevin's working, Dan's working almost every day on this FEMA and these grant programs and whatnot, which, of course, nobody in the community can see what's going on behind the scenes, but believe me, they're getting a lot of work done, and they're going to save this community a fortune in the future. So I hope that you'll all be patient and give us the time to get this stuff done. Engineer report?
Done today, that would take you to the attorney's report.
Oh,
A few items, if I may. On southern exposure, I think you all saw the email from the gentleman, and I have a form of a license agreement that I can prepare and send to him. And so the question is, we've had discussions that it be an annual license agreement, and the cost amount, the one number would be $5,000 for 1 year's worth. If that's acceptable to the board, I'll finalize the license agreement, send it to the Southern Exposure, send it to the chairman for his review and approval, and then authorize the chairman to sign it if it's acceptable to the chairman in the manager.
So we're gonna charge them $5,000 a year to be able to.
and the reason that we came up with that was because there was another company that was using that, and they offered to give us $5,000 a year.
Maybe you get into what Collier Dock or Collier Boat or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember what the,
But
Kramer and Kramer, I think, or something was the name of them.
yeah, if the board wishes to, once again, the board has the discretion to establish what the license fee will be. And if the board wishes to have us contact another dock company who has utilized the dock in the past or the property in the past and offer them the same opportunity or otherwise don't use it kind of arrangement, we could do that also.
Right. We recently just
Tony,
had,
may I ask a question? Tony, does that license agreement, is that also to make sure and verify that they have liability insurance in case they damage the seawall or something, or someone gets hurt?
The typical form of license agreement I prepared, Dan, does include hold harmless indemnification and insurance requirements. Comprehensive general liability coverage, workers' comp coverage. In this case, may actually require Jones Act coverage because that's an odd maritime kind of coverage requirement because they're operating in the waters. So that would be included as part of the license agreement. Yes, they would need to provide that. Certificates of insurance, naming the district as additional insured.
would the board like us to send these agreements out to these two different dock companies?
Yes.
Anyone not want to do it? Go.
That seems kind of expensive to me. You know, they're just gonna get passed on to the, whoever's, job they're gonna do.
Well, like I said, the only reason that we did it was because the company that came to us offered us that.
I don't know, it just seems like a lot.
What would make you feel better?
They're gonna pay for it regardless whether we collect it or not.
So maybe, how many are there left to do? Maybe $5,000, not per year, but maybe as a licensing agreement, just to do it. Are we gonna have to, and they'd still have to, each time they came, they'd have to show us that they had the liability insurance or something.
In the past, when they were using that, they were paying $1,000 a time.
So they gotta do 5 units to make, 5 jobs.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with it. If you think we should go to like I say, a $1,000 each time,
I don't know.
we had, what do you think?
To do that paperwork and collect from them.
Give them an option, an annual or per each.
Okay, there's an idea. $1,000 per time or $5,000 per year. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah,
No.
Dan?
Fine either way, as long as we cover our management costs and to take care of those agreements and make sure the liability's in place, I'm fine with it.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is, we just put in those nice looking calusas along there, and we're gonna have to start paying to mow that place. I'm just thinking that this money will offset a lot of that, so. Do we need to vote on that, or just have them do it?
What I would do, if you can vote as far as the parameters, be 1 year license agreement, and then as far as the license fee, be 5,000 annual unlimited use, and they'd have to coordinate the schedules with the manager. they'd be non-exclusive, or $1,000 for each time they want to utilize it. If that's the board sentiment, they'd have to schedule with the manager ahead of time.
And there should be a limit to how long they can leave their stuff sitting there. Because I know that during that last hurricane, there was a truck sitting there for weeks during the hurricane. There should be a limit, you know, I mean, it shouldn't be a staging area for them just to leave theirs.
What's the do you know what the typical staging area timeframe is?
You know, usually I'm gonna guess it probably isn't very long, but I mean, we should probably.
2 weeks?
I would think that would be,
I think that's sufficient.
okay.
See what they come back with?
Sure.
So 2 week staging,
And we can adjust that if, you know, if the circumstance warrants it.
an extension can be requested.
There you go.
Okay. And
Someone make a motion for that?
And what I suggest is, I'm going to suggest also that we have a meeting between now and the next meeting to talk about the Lindsay case documents.
Sure.
So I would bring back a form of the document. I'll send it out to the parties, but bring it back to the board for its final blessing at that meeting.
Does that need to be a public meeting?
Yes, yeah.
So should we just not adjourn this meeting?
Well, depending upon when you continue the meeting to, if you continue for 2 weeks, then you can do that, but then you have to notice it in the newspaper 7 days in advance. But it's just a short notice.
So could we do it for next week?
My schedule is messed up. I have to get on it. I apologize. I don't know, Neil's your schedule. If it's possible, do it August 2nd. I'm just.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Who's going to manage this? If you do it every time, if you have to collect from them every time, who's going to manage this?
Mr. Carter.
Say a one-time fee. Otherwise, we're going to have to manage it. Who's going to make sure they paid it, collect it? I don't vote for that.
Okay, that's another opinion.
How many times have they been there this year? I don't know. I was wondering what her
I
objection was.
know Southern's been there at least twice that I'm aware of, maybe 3 times. That other one that offered the $5,000, I think he's only been there a couple times.
I just think it's going to be, I don't want to be the one that's chasing them.
Yeah, from an operational management perspective, it's easier to get money up front and then not to worry about. But they still need to schedule it so we know when they're there as far as the duration also. So we know they're longer than time necessary for their.
So somebody's still got to look at it. It's not like it's done unseen.
Yes.
Or untouched, whatever. I don't care.
Let me know what you guys want.
I can't tell you that. I know Southern Exposure had a problem with we had to do a cease and assist or whatever, but he was told several times. I talked to him a couple different times. All he had to do was get his paperwork in place and take care of the notification thing, and it would be fine, and he just wouldn't get around to doing it.
I talked to him as well.
I was a bad guy, but it's okay.
I would, me personally, I would do the annual thing, but that's me. That's my vote.
That's my vote.
I'm on board with it.
I'll go with Daniel.
What do you say, Dan?
That's it.
I agree. It's less administrative to just do it annually.
Okay. So someone want to make a motion?
Direct the preparation of license agreement with those terms and parameters.
Yes.
And send it out to the 2 entities, the 2 dock builders, and then have the board finalize it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, go ahead. Lisa.
I make the motion that it be an annual licensing agreement.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Finally.
With regards to the 2 other items for litigation, then we'll get to the Mr. Case documents, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. On the Prep Act litigation, we've drafted what's called request for production to request various documents from PEPNAC and from Elevator Boys, which will include the request for any documents they have as far as paying for the additional ERCs that were outlined in the utility availability letter back when we received their site development plan in substantial change a number of years ago. So we'll be sending that out. I think it's pretty much final form either today or Monday to go out. And we're trying to minimize the cost and expense to the district. On the Port Islands versus Premier and KLT, I was not aware until the audit came out that qualifying language is something else we will add to an affidavit we're preparing for either Neil or Kevin to sign to support a motion to get priority hearing. With regards to, we have a number of documents that we're missing, and here's what's called, and these are the operational impediments caused by that, both the depreciation schedules, but this is critical, as well as others. And Johnson Engineering has received a number of documents from Holmontes, which also may have some documents in there which we can say, they're over here with Holmontes and now Johnson, but they're not the custodian. They should have, the custodian was KLT. He says he's given us everything, he's obviously not. So we need to expedite the hearing. So we'll be filing that next week and working with Neil and Kevin. On Lindsay case, on June 18th, as I mentioned, I think I forwarded the email to the chairman, the manager, and the engineer, and it has a link to various documents. It begins a clock for review period of 60 days. Francesca has indicated the review period ends and expires August 19th because it started June 18th. 60 days is technically a Saturday, August 17th, so it rolls to the next Monday. I have performed an initial review. I have my copies of my initial review here. I'd like to have Johnson Engineering do their review because they're detailed utility plans and specifications and stormwater. And what I'd suggest is that the board look at these and then we will email. This is what the packet will kind of look like. I mean, it's because you have a link for a number of the documents involved. One of the glaring issues with the plat, it dedicates the water and sewer utility to Collier County. And it says Collier County is the water sewer provider. There are a number, so that's where we'd like to have the meeting of the board to go over my comments, manager's comments, and the engineer's comments, and indicate approval or disapproval of certain aspects of these documents.
Yeah, we never really went through all these documents with the whole board.
That's correct. We need to have that so the board can say, okay, Tony, you're correct, or Neil, you're correct, or no, you're wrong, but put together the final comment package to go to Francesca and Lindsay Case and their engineers. And also send it to Collier County. I think Collier County needs to know that there are issues, or maybe issues that the district has. So again, this is just my initial review, subject to any supplemental review. We will, if you could send to all the board members that email from Francesca and Michael Dellett.
I will also
has the link.
Verify the time frame with Jared, your engineer, for his comments. In the absence of separately adopted utility construction standards, I have advised your civil engineer that we would default to Collier County's published utility standards manual for technical details as to how subsurface utility facilities can be constructed and what level of quality and things like that. And I just felt that was the most prudent thing to do. So we've had some initial discussions with your engineer. I'll make sure that he's aware of this August time frame, and either Kevin or I or both will be here if the suggestion is to either continue or re-advertise for a meeting on August the 2nd.
So that's a good idea, to keep our standards the same as the counties. In case at some point in the future here, the county decides they really want to own our water treatment plant, it'll already be up to their standards. Very good.
And I have, again, I printed out some of the 11 by 17 versions of the documents. For those, anybody wants a hard copy of one set, pretty much, but the rest are electronic. And I'll also send you a copy of the covenants and restrictions, because that's one of the other issues in a post-closing document is in the stack also, because it references the post-closing document as to the access to the open space areas they promised. Because the open space on the plat is way different than the open space in the site plan that y'all saw.
Yeah, we better go through all that.
Yes. That's all I have to report.
Okay. Do you have anything on landscaping, Ernie?
We're not into the supervisor's request here.
All right. Old business.
No separate old or new business were noted from the minutes from prior meeting.
Reference supervisor's report.
It's a new business. Okay, anybody here from Orchid Cove? Because I noticed that Lake Lincoln looks like it hasn't been mowed in a long time, and that brings a lot of mosquitoes and pests around, and we wanted to make sure that was being taken care of before we had to turn it over to code enforcement.
I really don't represent them anymore, but I can tell you what happens with that.
Okay.
Is that it gets too wet and the lawnmowers sink into it. When it's rainy season, that happens often. And you'll see he just mows like one strip, goes to the road, but they go back there with the mowers and it sinks in. So they have, the rain has been, it's rainy season, and that's how it happens.
Okay.
And I mean, Robert is
Good
pretty
enough.
good to mow that, but if the guy who mower sinks into it, they go back.
That's up to Robert?
Right.
Robert's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Thank
enough.
you. We also noticed that over at the hotel, the brush pile has not been being moved, and I'm sure that, bringing vermin, rats and whatnot, so we're also going to get that onto their list of various code violations at the hotel. That's all I have.
What else were we looking into?
Well, I saw the guy from code enforcement there for the drainage by the hotel.
Yeah?
And he said the seawall's probably failing. It's the responsibility of the marina. They own it, or the marina.
Now, when we say marina, are we talking about the county marina, or are we talking about the boat slips and condo marina?
I don't know.
I know, I wish there was a distinction, because I don't know.
Yeah. The marina didn't know they were or whoever. I don't think it's.
Any
public
idea
now.
who actually owns that? No?
Yeah, I think, the condominium, the boat subcondominium, the boat dock condominium would indicate the parameters of that condominium. We look at that declaration and see what's included in that. And then also look at the deed that the county, where the county acquired title to the marina. That would reflect who owns what.
Okay.
I guess that, I don't know, that might be a way to check on it real quick. If you want me to check on that, I can do that. That would be because it
John,
doesn't- and to notify.
Code knows about it.
Go ahead, Dan.
After talking with some of the people from the marina, the boat dock marina, I believe they had said that the hotel owned that.
It could be.
You know what? I've talked to both sides, and both sides says the other guy owns it. So,
Yeah, but this was the, he was a
We don't
senior.
own it.
Yeah, they have his card at home. He was a senior
yeah,
inspector, and he said.
I imagine the county can figure that out.
Yeah, whoever owns it, he said they were surprised. It might have been, he was talking to Tommy, so maybe it's him.
Well, Tom said he doesn't own it.
Yeah.
But the other people say that he does own it.
So, anyway,
Yeah, I'm sure it's what they call a hot potato.
yeah. Too much money.
Anything, are we up to community comments? All right, now's your chance. Anyone? Anyone online want to comment on anything or suggest anything?
Barring that, Tony, your suggestion is that we need to have a continued or subsequent meeting in lieu of doing our review of parcel 13 at the next regular meeting on the 16th?
Yes, that would allow the timely submittal to the developer of the comments of rejection or approval of the documents, yes.
I'm not certain I'm going to be here on the 2nd.
It can
I'm
be
closing on
It can be remote, it's fine.
Okay, as long as there's going to be 3 other people here.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be here this second.
That's good.
I won't be
I
here.
gotta wait and go until,
Yeah.
I won't be here.
That's going to be an issue.
Okay, the second won't work then.
That's why I was hoping we could have it next week. But Tony's busy.
Could we explore an extension with the developer for a revised date beyond the 19th?
We could, but I just
I
hate
said-
the idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I just hate the idea of holding him up.
Let's, again, let me read next week is, well, the morning of the 26th,
The only thing is we have to have a 7-day notice, right?
if it's continued to, if it's within a 7-day period, I'm comfortable
Okay.
with that. So if it's next Thursday or Friday, I'm double checking, I have items I can move around. On Friday,
Can Frank do it?
oops.
No.
Let's say Thursday afternoon, or, Neil, what's your schedule like next week?
I don't have access to it, but I think that either one of those days would work for me.
What date are we talking about?
July
25th or the 26th of July, next Thursday.
25th in the afternoon, is that possible? Is the room, is this place available?
What day is the 25th?
Thursday.
The only downside is, the guy who does our videoing here is gonna be gone on a vacation at that time, so maybe we have to do it the old-fashioned way. We'll figure something out.
If you use the second, I can pull that off.
I don't think we're gonna have a quorum.
I don't think we're gonna have a quorum.
Yeah, because it sounds like the week of July 29th is not a good week for a lot of reasons. Because on the 29th, 30th, 31st, but you're gonna be out of town, Bruce?
Yeah.
The whole week of the 29th?
Keep it for the 16th.
Whatever Monday is.
That's the 29th, yeah.
Has to be done by the 17th.
Yes, and so that's,
And that will give him enough time to do the paperwork.
and have the board review our comments, my comments, engineer's comments, and manager's comments.
Right. Well, if we can't make it happen before that, we can't make it happen.
Is next Thursday possible for board members in the
I
afternoon?
can make it.
I can. Thursday?
The 25th in the afternoon,
The 24th,
25th.
25th Thursday? That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, we can make that work if you guys work.
Dan and Elise?
I'm out of town.
Yeah, but you can Zoom it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Good for me.
Dan, can you Zoom in too?
I don't think Dave's, are you here?
Yes,
next
good for me.
You know, I mean, the actual meeting itself, anybody can log in there anytime and use it, but that's all virtual.
Yeah.
As far as setting a camera up here, I could probably get Frank to get at least one camera up.
We'll figure something out before now and then. We'll figure it out.
Place available?
I don't know, I don't have that access. More than likely,
If not, we could use the hotel, I'm sure, but
Yes, I would suggest then that the board continue today's meeting to what time, 1 o'clock or 1:30?
Let's do 1:30.
1:30 PM
1:30
on
on-
Thursday, July 25th, to be conducted here, Orchid Cove, or as an alternative at the room in the hotel.
it should be available.
And then you can post that on the website.
In the unlikely event that this is not available, then we would also put a notice, as we did once before, on the exterior door
Sure.
for anybody that walks up.
okay.
So then we will not adjourn today. The meeting will be continued until next Thursday, that is the 25th of July at 1:30 in this room, unless noticed otherwise. And we will also add that to our list of things to do Monday morning on the website.
Okay, Dan, technically, the meeting is only lasting an hour and 25 minutes.
So is there a motion by Neil?
Motion to extend it.
This isn't the end of the meeting yet, is it?
Right, no, so technically, he's still okay.
Yeah,
No,
you're
no,
still.
right now, you're talking about that we're done.
Yeah.
I needed to bring something up.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Well, and that's new information that Dan gave me, that they're going for grants on the roads and sidewalks and stuff like that. So that's new. So we upped our O&Ms, right, for roads and whatnot. How long are we gonna have to wait? If we up this, to get this money to do the roads, resurface or whatever we're gonna do, or what else are we gonna do with the money? I mean, look how long it took us to get to, looking at water meters on the boats and stuff, so.
You have a suggestion?
Push the federal government faster.
No, but I just mean, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna have to start lining stuff up.
I agree. I think that we need to start, especially if we're gonna start replacing some streets in here.
You gotta figure each cul-de-sac is at least 30,000?
Well, I don't think we're gonna do it all at once already.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
whatever we
For
plan.
budget idea, yeah.
I mean, we raised it, so we should start making a plan.
I wouldn't doubt it'd be closer to a couple 100,000.
Well, I'm just basing it on what Stella Maris.
Yeah, but everything's gone up.
Northwest. Yeah,
since then.
but that one was sewer and everything, so just talking about resurfacing.
Okay.
But I mean, at least, or something else, if somebody else has a different idea of a need here, you know what I mean? But I guess it was mostly the roads.
Does anybody else have anything here they really want us to work on? No? Okay. So should we temporarily?
Motion to continue.
Motion to continue?
To
To the 25th at 1:30.
At
A
this location.
second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thank
Thank you,
all.
everybody, for coming.
It was a good try, Steve. You came close.
Yeah, I know, I thought it was just me.
So I sent the board a message.